Good evening. Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Michelle May, Human Resources. Just would like to request that you take action to modify the agenda this evening and add an action item at the end of the agenda to request a change to your November business meeting date, and we can address that in more detail when we get to that item, but would like to request that you take that action to add that to the agenda.
I'll entertain a motion to that effect. I have a motion. Have a second?
Second.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Abel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood, Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
We have a 4-0 vote to pass the motion.
Okay, so item number 1 is public comment. This time is made available for comments from the public on matters within the Civil Service Commission's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone here that wants to do that? You're all here for agenda items then. Okay, we'll go on to item number 2 then, consent calendar.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Roll call.
Commissioner Atwood, Commissioner Atwood, oh, excuse me, Commissioner Perez.
You can only vote once.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
We have a 4-0 vote to approve the calendar with a Commissioner Weisner being absent.
And hopefully she'll be here soon. Moving on to item number 3, regular business. Item A, which is 7883, a hearing for reallocation of library assistant.
Yes, good evening, Commissioner. Sabrina Mendez, Human Resources Department. This is a hearing to consider a position reallocation for a library assistant to a library branch assistant. And Krista Riggs, our librarian, is here to answer any questions or just to give you a brief background.
Yes, we're good. Testing.
For the record, please state your name and position.
Sure. I'm Krista Riggs. I'm the library director here for Madera County Libraries. I'm here with 3 of our team members this evening. All 3 are currently allocated at the library assistant classification. I'm coming in as a new library director and in reviewing job descriptions and duties and classifications. It became apparent that they really are performing more at the branch assistant level. And I know we'll take each one individually for review. So we're starting with Blake Mendoza here. She was hired as a library assistant at our North Fork Branch Library in May of this year. She's responsible for independently overseeing and carrying out the daily operations of the branch library beyond the duties of our other library assistants. Her duties include balancing money and registers, following best auditing practices and recording transactions, developing programs and preparing promotional materials, collaborating with community members, providing community outreach, recruiting, training, and supervising volunteers, fostering and maintaining positive relationships with local schools, partner organizations, and friends of the library groups, and following our county policies to make sure we're following safe practices in the branch. She has a very essential role to ensure that the North Fork Branch Library of Madera County Library runs smoothly by performing a variety of patron and circulation duties that require substantial background and experience. She works very independently and exercises very sound judgment. I know I can trust her to handle anything that comes her way. And even though she's relatively new to our library system, she brings an impressive level of education and experience to the position as well. Thank you for considering this reallocation from a library assistant to a branch assistant. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Have any questions?
Yes, I do. How many current library branch assistants does the library have?
Right now, we don't have anybody at that level. We have a senior branch assistant who's at our Oakhurst library, and what distinguishes her duties from the branch assistant are that she has permanent staff under her. So she's in a little bit more of a supervisory role than a branch assistant.
Thank you.
Are they still doing Christmas trees behind the library?
Yes,
See, I
we're
bring
working with
this
the
up
Boy
because
Scouts, yeah.
trees and branches go
No.
together. So I just wanted you guys to know where to buy the best Christmas trees in Madera County. It's there.
Yeah, the Boy Scouts work very hard at
Yes.
that. Yeah,
Been buying them from them for 40 years. So.
wonderful.
I'd like to move to reallocate Lake Mendoza from library assistant to library branch assistant.
We have a second?
I have a question on this reallocation. You're going from one position to another, right? Now, is this position going to be a little bit more income than what you're earning right now, or?
Yes, it will be, I believe, and Michelle and Sabrina, correct me if I'm wrong, it'll be considered a promotion, so it will include an increase in pay.
Correct. She'll receive the 5% minimum, yes.
Okay,
And
I second the motion.
I'd just like to comment that the economics of the decision will be made by the Board of Supervisors as well.
That's correct.
Mhm.
No problem.
Great. Well, thank you very much. for that.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Oh, I missed it. I was focusing on something else. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Roll call.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes?
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Weisner? No. Commissioner Fry?
Yes.
We have a 4-0 vote to pass.
Now, thank you, yes, very much.
Elizabeth, item 3, the first one. And so now we're going to be doing section B. Okay, so now the next section is subsection B, Library Assistant B Mendoza Analysis Report. That one. Okay, this is a request for position classification review for the library branch assistant.
Yes, thank you. So this is another request for a different individual. So same as before, it's a hearing to consider a position reallocation for a library assistant to a library branch assistant. And Krista is still here to answer any other questions you have.
Yes, and I can give you a little bit of background on Amanda Judd, who's up here with me. She started with us at the Madera Ranchos Library in 2015 and then transferred to her home branch in Chowchilla in 2017. So she's working in the community where she lives, which I love. She knows everybody and is great at making connections. Like Blake, she is responsible for balancing money and registers and following auditing practices, collaborating with community members, and providing outreach. She runs inventory reports and assesses and maintains the library collection. She recruits, trains, and supervises those volunteers. She fosters and maintains positive relationships with those local schools, partner organizations, and friends of the library. And especially interesting for Amanda this year, we received a very competitive grant from the American Library Association, and she's our project lead on a 3-year project that brings STEAM exhibits to the Chowchilla Library for middle schoolers to get them excited about science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And Amanda, like Blake, brings an impressive background to the library, works very independently, and exercises very sound judgment in her decision-making. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
She started here at the Madera Library,
At the Ranchos branch.
at the ranches. How long were you over there?
Till August of 2017.
Okay, so now you're in Chowchilla, okay.
Good place to be.
I move we approve the request.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Weisner, Commissioner Fry?
Yes.
We have a 5-0 vote with the addition of Commissioner Weisner to pass the motion.
Thank you. Very good.
Okay, we're going to move on to item C 7880, hearing for reallocation of library assistant.
Good evening. So this is our third hearing for reallocation of a library assistant to a library branch assistant, and Krista can answer any questions you may have.
Right. And again, just a little bit of background. This is Jerica Edmondson. She started with us in November of 2017, taking Amanda's spot at the Ranchos Library, where she is now our lead at the Ranchos branch. Like the other two, she's responsible for independently overseeing and carrying out the daily operations of the branch, exercising sound judgment, following policies, keeping everybody safe, keeping our buildings up to date. I won't repeat everything from before, but I will just say one key point for Jerica is that she was very instrumental in moving the branch from the storefront library we had until 2 Decembers ago to the new location at the old hardware store. She helped design the inside of the library, the layout, where everything would go, packed up the books and had helped get them over there, worked really hard at that, really showed leadership and took on a really impressive scope of a project. So I'm very proud of her work on that. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
If I can just interject real quick, I witnessed the moving of a school library. You've made it sound very simple. It is a Herculean task. So it is an amazing amount of logistics to deal with. So good for you. So
I have a question. Ms. Riggs, as a director, these reallocations, what does it do for you as a director as far as being able to facilitate successfully?
That's a great question. The main point for me is to feel like we are adequately recognizing and compensating our staff for their work. And I do believe they are working at this level, at this classification. And so I want them to feel that value, that we see that and we recognize and appreciate that. But it also really helps me to have a leadership team. I've been calling them my leadership team, where I know I have a trusted group that is taking the lead at these branches, they are active members of the community, really involved in making those connections and bringing that information back to me so I can make sound judgment and decisions also. So it gives me a really solid source to make sound decisions and judgment myself.
Awesome. I commend you on an effort well done.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask a question. The response that you get at the library over there versus the response here in Madera?
The response at the Ranchos?
As far as the public-wise, do you get a lot of response over there versus over here, or the same thing?
At the Ranchos branch, it has less circulation, but it is a smaller branch also. We have a larger collection here in town, a larger building, so we have more things moving in and out. But it's very popular with the community there, especially for children's programs.
Do you only deal with the Ranchos, or do you go out like into the new areas now? Do the people from over there, they come to the Ranchos?
Sure. I'll answer and then I'll let Jerica answer too. We are drawing crowds from the new neighborhoods going in around Avenue 12 and Avenue 15. We are working on a bookmobile that we can take to those areas also. And I believe in the county plan for facilities down the road, there is at least talk of maybe new buildings in the Avenue 15 area down in the future, but I'll let Jerica also.
I have an add on that. Before the shutdowns in December, well, we moved December 2019, and then we shut down March of 2020. We had actually been in the works of working on getting story times actively going at both Tesoro Viejo and Riverstone. We were going to work with our story reader, and she was going to go to those facilities and actually host things there, where it would be basically a remote site visit. And there was a lot of positive support for that, but then we haven't really gotten the okay to start doing in-person programming again, and start that up, then we can start doing that again. But it is planned.
Awesome.
It sounds like you like repurposing buildings. So maybe instead of building a new building, we find another empty building and repurpose it, because both North Fork and Chowchilla have all been repurposed.
That's right, yeah.
It's a good thing.
It's a
So
good idea, yeah.
I have a question, though. It's kind of off topic, but I've had people coming into our church that have asked for some help on computers because they're not literate in that effect. And they went to one of the libraries to get some help, but nobody would help them.
Mm.
And one of them was a family member that worked at the library, and they were afraid to ask for help from her because they might see it as a conflict of interest or something else. But it was a way to use the computer to try to fill out a form because they didn't have a personal computer of their own. Is there any real issue with them doing that, even if it's a family member helping them in a library?
No, and that is something, and I don't know the situation. It may have been COVID related, just with social distancing, but that is something that we do. We are happy to help people on the computers. I was also just talking with my lead at our Oakhurst library this morning about partnering with the workforce development to have workshops in our library, so that because our staff, we have 1 or 2 people at some of our branches, their time is limited. This will allow us to offer even more to our communities. Yeah, but I'm sorry that happened.
Well, sometimes it's more a personal issue than it is a reality issue. So I just wanted clarification, so if it ever comes up again, I have a better answer for it.
Yeah, no, we are happy to help as
I
much
know
as we
you are.
can. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, we have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we approve the 3C agenda item.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call?
Commissioner Perez,
Yes?
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Weisner,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
We have a 5-0 vote to pass the motion.
Excellent. Thank you all very
for
much.
coming. Item 7904, hearing for reallocation of assessment analyst.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. This is also a hearing. It's a reallocation of an assessment analyst to a principal admin analyst, and Gary Spanda, our assessor, already at the podium, and he's ready to answer any questions if you have any.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Gary Savanda, Madera County Assessor. Maybe I could add just a little information and, of course, answer any questions you might have. Ms. Martinez is being asked to be promoted, if you would, to the position of Principal Administrative Analyst. She has been performing the duties of an analyst for us for quite some time. But because of the COVID environment and working from remote locations, and not the least of which, we lost a veteran of 21 or 22 years in our office performing many of the teaching and assisting and mentoring roles that we need for our support staff. Nancy has stepped right in, and even though it was working out of classification, she has performed these types of duties and the leadership responsibility that has helped to make our office the most effective and efficient it can be. I think we need to memorialize, number one, the position or the office going forward, because that responsibility of helping to monitor, train, and assist the support side of our activities is extremely important. And right now we have only one person with overall responsibility, and that's a deputy assessor of support activities in the person of Ms. Bonnie Hendrickson. She has devoted much more of her time to the technological support of our office. And someone needs to be there looking over the daily, ongoing, rubber hits the roads activities. And Nancy has absolutely stepped into that position and proven to me that she's the right person for that degree of responsibility. So with that, I have my full endorsement of number one, the position, number two, Nancy, for the position. And I will be happy to answer, or Nancy, any questions you might have regarding the action before you on this item.
Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Savanda. He's going to go up another notch. Now, who's going to take her position when you elevate her?
Unfortunately, we have no one at the current time that will do that.
Are you going to be requesting somebody to do that?
Well, it's kind of complicated. To be an assessment analyst, one must pass an exam by the Board of Equalization. Until that is accomplished, we can, of course, take, say, an analyst tech and move them into this position. But I believe Nancy is fully capable of taking care of her old and new responsibilities simultaneously. She's what we need for the position.
I'd like to comment, Nancy, you must be feeling pretty good right now, huh? There's a lot of great words said about you, and I commend you for Gary for really identifying such talent, and most importantly, properly allocating her into a position that matches the day-to-day duties that she's performing. I think that's my goal as a Civil Service Commission is to ensure that all departments feel comfortable coming to the commission with these proposals. So thank you for doing it in such a fashion and with such confidence, because that instills confidence in myself as well.
Great. Any other questions?
Well, one quick comment. I have always been impressed by your department.
Well,
And
thank
the,
you.
and the
Stephen.
only one you get wrong is my address. But no, I always felt, I heard one of the great assessor lines. Somebody was complaining about what the house was worth. And he says, there's no way. And the assessor pulls out his checkbook and says, I'll pay you for it right now. I'll buy your house. And the guy says, I wouldn't sell it for that. And he says, okay. I would like
Case closed.
I would like to move that we approve the request. And
I
just
second it.
I'll give you my address. No. Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Weisner,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry.
Yeah, yes.
We have a 5-0 vote to pass the motion.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Next item is E7920. It's a hearing for reallocation of public health positions.
Commissioner Fry, if I may, just a correction on that, should actually be Sheriff's Department. The rest of the item is correct. But the heading was not when you're reading it into
Okay.
the record. Thank you.
So this is reallocation of what? What do we call it?
The rest of the item is correct.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it, but I don't see it.
So it's just the title next to 7920. It says hearing reallocation of public health when it should say reallocation of sheriff's positions. 3E.
So on the posted agenda itself, but the item is correct.
Yeah, okay, now I see it. Okay, I'm looking at the left column and it's all on the right column. Okay, so this is a hearing to consider position reallocation of vacant positions in the sheriff's office.
Thank you, Commissioner Fry.
I
Michelle
finally
May.
found it. I'm a little slow at times.
Michelle May with Human Resources again. This item and the item just after this are similar but slightly different from what you've seen before. These items are also for reallocation consideration, but they happen to be vacant positions not currently filled with any incumbents. The county code section is the same reference as is utilized in those that are filled positions that you've been considering, like the four prior this evening. And for this particular item, the request is to consider reallocation of two vacant positions, the sheriff's corporal to sheriff's sergeant, and then the sheriff's office business manager to fiscal manager. And Under Sheriff Majeski is here on behalf of the department as well to answer questions.
I do have one question. Okay, I noticed that the sheriff's corporal becoming the sheriff's sergeant at Bass Lake. So is that only on the lake, or is that the Oakhurst Division, or whatever you guys call it?
I'll be glad to explain. Good evening, Commissioners and Chairman. Patrick Majeski, Under Sheriff with the Sheriff's Office. In this particular case, the corporal at Bass Lake, we are going to, or we would like to change that to a sergeant's position. It's only for Bass Lake. And then if you read a little further, I don't know if that information's in there, but this past year, we were able to acquire 2 deputies for our high country contract over in Mammoth on the Mono County side. So we send 2 deputies over there to work during the season when all the tourists and everybody are over there. So, because generally we didn't have anybody over there, and Mono County would have to do that. So what we feel, or what we believe is best for the agency and the county, is due to the span of control of all the deputies on Bass Lake, and then the 2 positions that we were awarded in a contract, a grant, that we need a sergeant to supervise those 7 people. So it's specifically for the lakes, the Bass Lake. Off season, they'll go to Eastman, Hensley, Redinger, our side of the Redinger Lake, but it's specifically for those areas, the recreational areas.
Good.
How long has this position been vacant?
Right now, it's not vacant. It's being supervised by a corporal.
I see.
And again, our issue is there's such a large span of control that we really need a sergeant to oversee the supervision of all those deputies, now that we've added a couple more full-time deputies during the season. So it's not vacant. We're just going to change the corporal position to a sergeant position.
But you'll still have the corporal?
No, the position will go away.
Okay.
It'll just be changed over to a sergeant
Higher
position.
rank. Yeah.
I think technically it's not a new, or it's being overseen, but on paper, the corporal's not the sergeant, right? So
Correct.
that's what we're looking for.
That is correct.
So currently as it stands, how far away is the sergeant, the corporal's sergeant? What's the distance, who does the corporal report to?
That corporal will report to, well, generally it's going to be the sergeant that's on duty in Oakhurst.
Mhm.
If there's no sergeant there, it would be a sergeant in the valley. So at any point, I mean, it could be 20 minutes from Oakhurst, Coarse Gold, or it could be an hour from the valley. It just depends on staffing and who's in the area.
Right.
But ultimately, we also have a lieutenant that oversees the entire program, but that lieutenant would be in the valley as well.
It's about giving the person who's doing the work now, giving them their proper stripes and allocations, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. Due to the liability, the supervision
Oh, yeah.
issue that we have. Yes.
Are you actually promoting a person to the sergeant, or are you doing it by competitive standards?
It's going to be by competitive standards. The corporal that's in that position is on the sergeant's list. So we will do a, competitive, process for that.
But as you said, the corporal's position basically goes away. It'll become a sergeant's position.
Correct.
So the only increase in cost is the basic salary.
Correct.
But you'd probably like to have the corporal there anyway.
That would be the best solution.
Do we have any other questions?
Well, so are we doing both these positions all in one shot, or
There-
because they're
So-
all in the same line?
On this one, so for the sheriff's department, it's for the 2 positions.
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
of to change a corporal to a sergeant, and then the business manager to the fiscal manager classification.
But we're not doing the 2 items together.
It's presented as
Never
one
mind.
item.
I spoke too soon.
It's okay.
So, and I assume that the fiscal manager will be down here in the valley.
Correct. It's a completely different situation. In this case, it's when we took over the responsibility of the jail. Now we're taking over
All
their
the
operations
finances.
as well as ours, and we would like to have one person overseeing both operations.
Yes, here, no.
Gosh, that makes sense. I move we approve the request.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
You
Agenda,
approve,
roll-
excuse me, you approve the request for both of them?
Yeah. I would just like to comment, in the future, I'd like to see those split up, because they're essentially 2 different responsibilities.
Correct.
And so it doesn't make sense that we're having to ask so many questions and then vote one time on 2 different items. So,
So noted. Understood. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Weisner,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
We have a 5-0 vote to pass.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Come on, computer. Going to move on to item F, 7919, hearing for reallocation of public health positions. Vote up.
Yes. So this item is similar to the last one, and the request to have those separate is noted. So I will presume that you would like that in the future for all these.
Because they're written down as one item.
Correct.
You got to do them as one item. So ask your questions according to each one of the 5 different.
So,
sections.
right. So this particular item is a request from Public Health for the reallocation of 5 vacant positions, and the Assistant Director, Stephanie Nathan, is here from the department if you have questions as well. And just to clarify, these items, like the previous items, will also still require board action to make the final change.
Good evening. As she said, Stephanie Nathan, Assistant Public Health Director. And as stated, we are requesting a position reallocation for 4 vacant positions. And actually, one position is currently filled. That's the fiscal manager. So this is a change of our position allocation schedule. In each situation, we are changing one allocation to another position that better meets our needs. As you can imagine, with COVID, we've learned a lot about the types of positions we need. Our needs have changed. The complexity of our department has greatly changed and increased. And we've just recognized that there are certain assignments that we need. And so at this time, we're trying to basically write that through reallocating positions. This does not affect any existing staff. And as Michelle said, on November 2nd, we are going to go to the Board of Supervisors to fund the vacant unfunded positions and change the allocations. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Does the reallocation, does it help us obtain a higher caliber employee, or is it to reallocate current employees and get them compensated for work that they're already doing?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So in each position, it differs a little bit, and I can talk about those various situations briefly for you. So for example, if we look at the nurse practitioner, that's a very difficult position to fill. We've been unsuccessful. I'm sure you've all heard about nursing shortages in filling that position. And we've recognized that a better fit for what we need right now is a health education coordinator. So that is not someone in that position that would be reallocating to meet our needs. Very similar with like office assistant. A lot of these positions are being reallocated to get a higher caliber or somebody that can handle more complex situations. So going from an office assistant to program assistant. And for example, senior nutritional assistant, that was a WIC position. We recognize someone left that job. We recognize we don't need to fill that again. There's not a need in WIC, but we do have a need for provider liaison now with COVID. We need to go out and reach out providers. So this would be a new assignment. And so each position's slightly different. But in general, it's looking at our current situation and future needs and trying to figure out what's the best position that would meet that.
Do the requirements for the application requirements increase based off these reallocations?
Well, the application, like for example, for the health education specialist, they'll be the same.
Okay.
So all these positions right now, from what I can see, that they're all vacant, or at least 2 or 3, 4 of them are vacant. So if we approve it, that means that it's going to be available when you find somebody, or you have somebody within the staff to fill in the positions.
Right. So as you know, we're going to go to the board, right, to first fund the positions, and then we'll do recruitment for those positions. And in most situations, they're going to be competitive recruitments where there's current staff that may apply, and there's also going to be open to external candidates.
Yeah.
So the current allocation is going to just kind of sit in the background for future need if necessary?
No, it's
But
similar
not-
to
but not
what the previous presenters talked about. It would go away. For example, the senior nutritional assistant would be no longer, would be replaced with the health education
Okay.
specialist.
Okay.
So these are 5 vacant positions, and rather than fill them under these job descriptions, we're looking to fill them under the new proposed job descriptions, correct?
Correct. And just one clarification, the senior admin, the fiscal manager, That is listed as vacant, but that is filled and it's described, it actually was overfilled. So the senior admin analyst position is currently overfilled with the fiscal manager, but the other 4 are vacant.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion?
One more comment. So just so I understand the process, and I feel like I'm doing my due diligence. So if we're trying to approve this now, how could that position be filled?
Which one?
The senior administrative analysis. You said
Oh,
that.
senior administrative analyst?
Yeah.
Yes, so it was overfilled with the fiscal manager.
Okay. So it's there's already what we're
Someone-
proposing to do has already been done.
So there's someone in, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry if I may interject. If I can explain just a little more clearly. So each department is allocated specific job titles and positions. And sometimes with approval from the CAO's office and from our finance department, they are able to overfill a position, which is what happened here. So they were allocated for a senior administrative analyst and had the need for a fiscal manager, did a recruitment, or a recruitment was conducted by our department, and they chose to fill or overfill with the fiscal manager. And so this would just essentially now erase or replace the senior administrative analyst title with the fiscal manager. So they're no longer overfilling, they're just filling a position, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
It does.
Okay.
Thank you for
You're
explaining that.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
All right. I move to approve 3F.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Weisner,
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
We have a 5-0 vote to approve.
Thank you.
Good luck, huh?
Okay, we'll move on to item G, 7829. Consideration and approval of certified program assistant 1, public health eligible list to the Public Works Department and allow for selective recertification.
Yes, good evening, Commissioner. Sabrina Mendez again from Human Resources. So this is similar to a request that we brought before you last month. It's a consideration to certify or refer names from for the Department of Public Works to utilize the Program Assistant 1 list that was established for public health. And they are also requesting selective certification of the candidates on that list. And Andrea Saldate, our Deputy Director of Public Works, is here to answer any questions.
Good evening, Commissioners. Andrea Soldati, Deputy Director of Public Works. We currently have 7 program assistants positions within our department. We use them in vastly different situations throughout the department. And we have had a very hard time trying to fill all of those positions. So we are currently seeking to fill 2 of them right now. We've gone through the program assistant list multiple times. We've gone through the bilingual program assistant list multiple times. And so we're hoping with this recruitment, folks that have applied for the public health program assistant position, that maybe we would see some new names, some fresh faces. It just kind of gives us a wider net to be able to capture folks from. So I'm here for any questions.
You
I-
have
oh.
7 positions.
Yes, sir.
You got 2 that are filled.
No, I need to fill 2. Yes. I currently have 3 filled with permanent employees, and I have 2 filled with extra help employees.
They're creating a problem for your department?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we are essentially understaffed, and this is just one position that we are understaffed in. And then with COVID restrictions, especially, we've seen a big we've had an issue with COVID and kids being in school and needing to be picked up and not able to return and things like that. And so having these 2 positions vacant have been very troublesome to our department, because essentially these are our customer service, our first line folks. And so we do need to get them hired as quickly as possible.
All these hires are going to be on a competitive basis.
Yes.
I noticed that there's a list of 12 names. They're ranked 1 through 9, but there's 12. Will those people be on the list and then you're expanding the list or just using those 12 names?
Just using those names.
Okay.
Make a motion that we approve.
I was gonna comment that I am a fan of using an eligibility list from another department because these are individuals who have already gone through the entry level process. So when we're looking to expedite filling these positions, that is the best way to do it. So good job.
I'll second Joe's motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood.
Yes.
Commissioner Weisner,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
We have a 5-0 vote to approve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item H, 7888, October voluntary demotion for Esmeralda Lopez.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. This is a request for a voluntary demotion. She would like to demote from a juvenile detention officer 2 to a deputy probation officer 1, and it's within the same department, probation.
This individual, her income is going to be less
Yes,
based on the demotion.
yes.
Is she
So
okay with it?
yes, so I do typically reach out to the individual to make them aware of that and make sure that they understand that. I do refer them to the MOU where it states that they are to receive the highest range closest to their current salary. So they are aware. Once they submit that information, I do reach out and they are made aware of all of that.
Is there any juvenile detention? That's our juvenile hall, right? They're inside the juvenile hall.
Correct.
Is there any signs or are we seeing any movement with the new rule with adults up to 24 years of age being housed in juvenile hall? I mean, does that affect? I'd much rather be
Yeah, I'm not sure in this case. I think it's from what I've gathered from, my conversation with this person is just more of a career change.
Okay.
Sometimes they just want to expand their experience or just try different areas to see which, what works best for them.
Right.
So I take it this is not a result of a disciplinary issue.
No, and just to clarify, any disciplinary demotions would not be presented in this forum.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are different rules that apply to that. Yeah.
Right. But
It's
so
pretty-
it's just for the career path.
I was just going to say that it's pretty common for an officer to want to move into the probation officer series. They have more opportunity to increase their.
It's just,
pay and-
I asked that my question because last month we reclassified the job description to include the disclosure that there's adults up to the age of 24. I just didn't know if we were seeing an effect, at all. So, thank
Has
you.
that actually taken place yet, though?
No, we had a discussion, but we have not brought those job descriptions before you just yet.
Well,
But that is
Oh.
occurring, yes.
Yes.
The 24-year-olds are now in
Mhm.
juvenile?
Mhm.
I thought that was going to take a while. I was hoping it was going to go to court.
No, they said,
That's just dumb.
Elba said that they are there now,
Mhm.
Okay.
here in Madera. Okay, I'd like to move to approve 3H.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call?
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Weisner,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
We have a 5-0 vote to approve.
Down to item I, 7887, voluntary demotion for Kyle Stevens.
Yes, good evening. This is also a request for a voluntary demotion for Carl Stevens. He is requesting to demote from his current position of deputy sheriff to a correctional officer 1. It is still within the same department, it's just a different division.
His letter was short and sweet.
Yep.
So let's make it this. I move we approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Do we have a motion and a second? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Weisner,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
We have a 5-0 vote to approve.
I got one quick question on this. When you're talking about ratification. By that, does that mean that the supervisors agree to it?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
It says here ratification of voluntary demotion.
Mhm.
Who ratifies that? Their
We're request-
supervisors?
No, well, the supervisor is aware of this, but we are requesting that you ratify this.
That's
If you
it's in the
look at
recommendation.
the status change form, advisors from one department to the other sign off on it. Okay. At this point, staff reports.
So if we could address the item that was added to the agenda at the beginning of the meeting.
November's meeting being what
Yes.
change?
Yes. So I guess that would be 3J.
Yeah.
The imaginary 3J. So the request, and Commissioner Weiser, just so you're aware, we had requested an action to amend the agenda to add an action item for your consideration to move the November business meeting from the current date of November 16th. We unfortunately have fortunately and unfortunately, we have a staffing conflict. There are a number of the staff in our office that are going to be attending a conference out of town, and we are actually supposed to travel that afternoon. So we would like to request your consideration for a change of date for that. We do have some suggested dates, but if you would like to, if you have other dates in mind, of course, we're certainly open to entertaining those.
Okay, before we have discussion,
Yes.
does this really fall under the need for immediate action because of staff leaving, because it wasn't agendized in the proper form? It wasn't on the original agenda, and it is
Correct.
the only way you can add something is if it's emergency and necessity.
So we don't have the opportunity, we won't have another meeting before then. So we could do it as a non-action item and then reach out to each of the commissioners and change it. But for transparency purposes, we wanted to present it here for your consideration.
If everybody's okay with doing that, I don't have a problem personally. You got to discuss it somehow.
Yeah, we already approved to add it to the agenda, so.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure that we had some clarity on that.
Thank you, no problem. So the dates that we would like for you to consider would be the Monday just prior to the 16th, so November 15th, or if you prefer to keep it on a Tuesday, November 9th or November 30th. We don't recommend the week of Thanksgiving. It's a very short week. However, we're certainly open to other dates for your consideration.
The 9th works for me personally.
Making it very hard on my.
What's
Matters
Let's
to me.
see.
doesn't matter to you?
I'm just thinking of my school board is meeting at noon. So I should be okay for a night meeting on that day.
Both dates work for me. Either one.
How's the 9th look for you, Joe?
Elizabeth?
The what?
The 9th?
The 9th of October?
November?
The Tuesday.
No, not October, November?
The Tuesday.
Just a week earlier.
Yeah.
In case I can make it, I'll call you.
Fair enough.
I think we
I
have
would do
we have
anyway,
quorum on the
so.
9th. We have 4 of us.
Keep moving these days around. You're going to
That's
get
fine
me
with
totally
me.
confused.
The Monday would be rough for me, but so the 9th, I propose the 9th.
25 years of the second Wednesday, all of a sudden we're doing different things.
I'll second the motion for the 9th.
October the 9th.
And that works okay
No,
for staff?
November the
Yes.
9th.
November 9th.
November 9th. Did we have a second?
I did.
You seconded. Who motioned it?
Yep.
Jeez, I just getting the sound
It
alike.
wasn't a formal motion, to be fair to you, but it could be
Okay,
perceived
so
as a
you're
motion.
the motion.
I'd like to move that we move our November meeting to the 9th.
And I'll re-second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please. You can only second once.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Weisner,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
We have a 5-0 vote to approve the motion.
Thank you. Do you have any other staff
Thank you.
reports?
We do not, but I did want to share with you that Elba would have been here as she normally is. However, you may be aware that the Board of Supervisors meeting is an on-the-road meeting today. And so it just happens that it fell at the same time, or almost the same time. It was at 5 o'clock at a different location, obviously, since you're in these seats.
What part of the county are they in tonight?
They are here at, I think, George Washington Elementary School.
Cool.
Yeah. Monterey.
Good
Yeah,
for
Monterey.
you.
Yeah, I know.
Ba-doom-tsh. All right.
Okay, dokie.
Can we,
That was in the consent calendar.
oh,
All right, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
make a motion.
Have a second.
I'll second it.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you,
Good job,
guys.
everybody.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Happy
Everybody.
Halloween, everybody.
Yes,
Ah.
grab some candy on your way.
Candy monster, you got the whole thing. You want the basket too?